All information contained in this podcast is general in nature and does not consider your individual circumstances. You should consider the appropriateness of this information with regards to your individual objectives, financial situation, and needs. Welcome to Sharing More Than the Sheets, a podcast to help you and your partner make better financial and lifestyle decisions so that you can both focus on the things that you love. I'm your host, Michael Khouri, financial planner, green thumb, husband, and just dad. Today I want to share a journey with you. I'm joined with a high school friend of mine who has a very interesting journey through his business, which I think anybody listening to this can learn from. Alex Hamze, along with his wife Nuf, are the directors and owners of Alamore, the label. And where the business originally started is nowhere near where it is today. And today I wanted to talk to Alex. He joins me and I wanted to, again, explain his journey, talk to you about his journey, and hopefully give some inspiration to those that are thinking of starting their own business or developing their own business to sort of take that next step. Alex, thanks for joining.
No, you're welcome, Michael. Thanks for having me on your podcast. Thank you.
No, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. It's for those that don't know, me and Alex went to school together, and Alex is probably one of the most busiest people I know. He recently had twins, which makes it 3 kids. That in a business, I think today has been booked about 9 times, and we've had to reschedule.
This is correct, yes.
For the last couple of months. But I'm so glad we're finally talking. Let's just hope that we could get through it all. But you've promised me that you've locked the doors and told everyone to stay away.
I'll try my best.
Thank you. So Alex, if you could sort of explain your journey. I mean, I'll give a bit of a brief idea, a bit of a brief summary of your journey and where you started, and I'd really love for you to sort of expand on it. So Alex came to me about this was how many years have you? When did you start the business?
Well, just last week was our Knife and I's 7th wedding anniversary. So it would be, I would say, 7 to 8 years ago, because we started. Okay. No, sorry, 7 years ago. Yeah, it was roughly 7 years ago.
Okay, so 7 years ago, you called me and you said, "Hey, Mark, I'm thinking of starting a business. We want to sell clothes." And we're just having a bit of a chat, and you just wanted some contacts for a few things because you know that I had worked in the website business before in the past and had some involvement in it. And I haven't told you this before, but when you first told me the idea, I thought you were a little bit crazy, and I was like, "This isn't going to work," because you wanted to sort of sell brands of clothing on a website. And I was like, that doesn't work. People will like to go to shops to buy clothes, or why would someone go and buy something online? And over the year, and back then it was called A&M Boutique, and you had a logo. I think you had made it with Microsoft Word, or at least it looked like that. And you've come through this massive journey since then to now have your own label called Alamore the Label, and have I would say, very successful business. And things now look nothing like they did 7 years ago. So if you could give our listeners a bit of an idea as to sort of where things started and how they've progressed to where you are today and where you are today as well.
Yeah, sure. I'm happy to share that. We started from very humble beginnings. My partner and I, we didn't come from so wealthy backgrounds, just very humble background. We didn't have the fancy things in life. We just got by day to day and, just tried our best, as any middle-class family, I would say, does.
Because after uni, you were driving cabs, I'm pretty sure.
Yes. So I graduated with an accountancy degree. I really did it because I actually fell in love with numbers in high school. Like, it was the only thing I really cared about, business accounting. Everything else was just not existent to me.
Yes.
But look, I did go to university, and I didn't like it. I don't know why, but I did it. I've completed it. I've got my degree, and then I went out into the real world trying to get a job and try to get ahead with the degree that I worked so hard towards, and didn't really take me anywhere. So it was my fate. I just didn't have an opportunity to use the degree to its full potential. However, I did gain some knowledge, and I don't regret it. And I've obtained a bucket of information and wealth of knowledge from this degree, so I don't regret it. So if you are thinking of dropping out, there are other benefits that come from a degree. It's not so much if you're going to take it the full way, but it's what comes with it is what you use towards your I would say
life skills.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I'll quickly answer your question. So we started 7 years ago. We actually got married first, went on our honeymoon. We funded all that as well. And so when I think we were in the Maldives, and my wife was like heavy into fashion, and she was following it, and she did retail when she was younger. And with my accounting and I wouldn't say I was a coder, but I had some sort of computer knowledge. And as a joke one day on our honeymoon, I said, "Oh, hey, why don't we just start a website?" And she said, "Yeah, sure, let's do it." And we didn't know where to start or how to start. We just had the idea. We came back home, and that's when I got in touch with Michael, who is our host today. And I actually asked him for a recommendation for a web developer, and he sent me the contacts of some guy in India. And look, 7 years ago, I think the net is not the same as it is today. It was completely different. Like if you look at Facebook, I think it's only no more than 10 years old, I believe. Even so, if you're talking 7 years ago, that's actually a long time in the realm of the online space. So
I just Googled Facebook's 17 years old.
Is it 17?
Yeah, but I don't think it was popular up until then.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Maybe it's Instagram.
That could be. Well, yeah. I mean, that could be when you first started it. Actually, back in uni.
17 years. Oh yes, actually no, you're right. It was too. I think it's Instagram. That's the one I was referring to. But anyway.
Yes.
So then we got the website up and running, and we were still working. By the way, I think I was working in financial planning as a personal associate at the time, and my wife was working just doing retail jobs. So then what happened was it got to a point where our orders would just keep coming in, and we got so excited. We were like, yeah, we got 5 orders today, and we were really, really excited. But the problem was,
and you were selling other brands, yeah? Just to clarify, you were selling other labels.
Yes, and we were also just selling things off the shelf or like off the rack, or we would just, import something that we thought would be popular, and then we would approach other brands and start a wholesale relationship with them. And that's where it all started. Look, our website was it was pretty ugly at the time. It was very ugly, actually. And this is referring to A&N Boutique, by the way, not Alamore the label, because we started with A&N Boutique, and then we grew to have our second business, which is Alamore the label. So if we didn't start with A&N Boutique, we would not have Alamore today. It had to start somewhere. Now, we got to a point where we actually got a little bit busy. Not busy as in today's standards, but we got pretty busy. And we found it a bit of a struggle to dispatch all our orders, because we were working during 9 to 5 and rushing to the post office during lunchtime every day was just not a good idea. It was a bit tricky. So we actually had
just to clarify, you were working from home, yeah, or from the garage at that point?
No, we were actually living in a room in my mum's house at the time, because
okay.
I didn't venture out on my own until a few months after our wedding. So I was pretty much residing with my parents at the time. So I didn't really have any assets or anything. We just fell in love, got married, and started this little business venture of ours. That's pretty much how it all began. And it worked out fine, because we were passionate with each other and the business. And when you're passionate about something, it just works. So one day we both came home, and we said, look, this business is actually doing a lot better for us than our usual day-to-day job. So we made the decision to quit. Both of us made the decision to quit our jobs. It wasn't an easy decision.
So essentially, it started really slowly, is what you're trying to say, and it got to a point where the income was starting to exceed what you're getting through work.
No, let's just say income was, yeah, I would probably say it was on par or a little bit better.
On par?
But
Yep.
yeah, on par or better. But you also have to remember there is expenses with
Yes.
any startup venture. You know, you have to invest in stock up front, advertising, just tax, GST, all the things that come with the business that you don't see. You know, you have to have that there to set yourself up. Now, our problem is we didn't really have the capital at the start. We just came back from a honeymoon and a wedding, and we used a lot of our cash that we could have used towards the business. So we worked a few months, gathered some money, and just threw it all on stock. And it worked. It worked just enough for us to focus more on it day to day. So that was actually the best decision we ever made. It was a huge risk. It was a very huge risk because we literally quit our jobs and we had no other source of income other than this website of ours.
Yep.
But it actually worked out for the best. And it actually just kept getting busier and busier and busier. As we invested more time, money, and effort into it, it just kept growing and growing. That's pretty much.
And when you made that decision to literally quit your jobs and take the jump, like even from a relationship point of view, what type of discussions did you and Nuf talk about? Did you talk about worst case scenarios, saying, hey, look, worst case, we'll just live off bread and water if we have to? Or
no, because we had family support, so we were still living with my parents, and we had a room, and my parents are very caring, and my mother would, she would do anything for us. So we were lucky in a way that we had, somewhere to stay.
Yes.
And we never really had to worry about eating because food was everywhere in my house. And there was no issue with food. It was more so, oh, did we make the right choice so that we can one day be on our own and start our own family and have our own place that we can call home, those sort of things. It wasn't more so the repercussions of now, it's the repercussions of later on.
These podcasts have been brought to you by Better Financial Planning Australia. To book a free 15-minute phone chat, visit betterfinancialplanning.com.au.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question? At that point, and this might even apply till after you quit your jobs and just went full-time with the business, was there any point that you just almost gave up, where you're like, this is useless, we're not getting anywhere? Or was there anything that happened that sort of really was disheartening? Or was there a point in the business where,
Yes, there is definitely. So I will start from the.
Sounds like there was a few.
There's always quite a few situations that make you want to give up, but it all depends on how strong you are as a person to keep fighting and continue on. So I guess one of the earlier obstacles we faced was one of the suppliers who stocked us cut us off, and that took a big toll on our business. And we also had issues sourcing stock from the suppliers, multiple of them, not just one, but multiple. So we were pretty restricted with what we could sell because what we grew the business to sort of took a hit and it fell back a bit. The issue is we couldn't get stock, or stock was in high demand that we couldn't secure it, or we had suppliers who cut us off entirely. So that pretty much affected the core products of our business. So it got to the point where and this also actually happened when we actually moved out. So we actually moved out because we had so much stock in this little room at my mum's house that the stock was just overtaking the room. So we had to get out. And we also took another risk by moving out. We actually, nothing was certain. We just did it. And I think sometimes you just have to just jump in the deep end and do it. Otherwise, you're going to, you're not going to learn to take risks ever. And you're always wanting to play it safe. And playing it safe doesn't really reward you, to be quite honest with you. So all our decisions was just do it and let's see what happens. So at that time we moved out, and when that happened, we lost a lot of our income. But lucky for us, we were able to save, which protected us. Now, from that point, there was two options. It's either give up, go back to do what we were doing, or take a risk and manufacture your own stock. And that's when Alamore came to life, because we had to make our own stock under our own brand. And by stock, I mean our own fashion pieces. And we had a very strong idea of what the people wanted by being in business for about a year or two. We knew what people wanted. So we knew how to start the manufacturing process. So you have to know what the people want. If you make something that people don't want, and it's your very first production, you're gonna feel the huge hit, because it's a big sum of money being invested into your first drop of clothing. That can either make you or break you, because you're talking about large quantities of money here and stock that will just go stale. So we sort of had an idea of what people wanted based on the years that we were operating. But this is where it got really risky. So this is the risk that we had to take. So we didn't have enough money for production, as you may know, because we were renting at the time, living on our own, being independent. But we didn't have $30,000 or $40,000 sitting there to just throw it into manufacturing our own clothing. So what did we do? I came up with an idea. Let's get a personal loan, because no one will give us a business loan. No bank would talk to us or look at us, but they would happily give us a personal loan, which I don't understand, but so be it. And I guess that's how they work. The banks operate. I'm not sure. I don't understand why they wouldn't look after a small business, yet they're happy to give you a personal loan at a very high interest rate. But anyway, regardless, I had no choice. I succumbed to the banks. We borrowed close to $40,000 in loans at 26% interest. So that was a huge risk. And then not only that, we actually never met the supplier face to face. We had no contracts in place. We were just formally talking via a service such as WhatsApp or one of those messaging platforms, and we just sent the money across to somebody we've never met, didn't know what to expect. I just went all in. I said, look, I've come this far.
Let's just do it.
Let's just do it. They sent us samples, of course, so we saw what they were capable of. There was some checks and balances beforehand, like we asked to see certain documents and everything. But I mean, at the end of the day, you're not really promised anything. So we went all in, sent all the money to China, and I tell you what, I had a few sleepless nights from that time. And then what do you know? A few weeks, we received samples of all our pieces, and we were like, wow, all our designs are coming to life. This is crazy. Like they're actually giving us something here. They didn't run away with our money, because you just don't know. And then we sort of felt a little bit better. Actually, Alamore wasn't born then. We actually just made the pieces for the A&N Boutique website. Okay. Yeah, sorry. So, and then what happened was, after that, the samples were cool. We did our photo shoots. Photo shoots, again, cost a lot of money. And you really have to find the right team and production team to do these things for you. Otherwise, if you can't get your images right, how will you sell the product? It's online. People only rely on imagery. There's nothing else that can persuade them to buy other than your policies and your imagery. So we had to get that right, which to be honest, it took us about maybe 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 photo shoots later until we got it right. So the first 3 or 4 were absolute, I would say, write-offs. And then we just got better and better, and we just started to learn more. So in terms of photo shoots, make sure you get the right people and don't be stingy. Make sure you do it right, because it's what separates you from the rest. If you ever want to trade in e-commerce, that is. Yeah.
And on that note as well, actually, because you bring up a really valid point. So you mentioned get professionals, get good quality photos. Well, from a business perspective, what else would you say? What would be your main tips for someone thinking of starting a business? Because
I would say still be humble, because you don't have a unlimited supply of cash.
Yep.
So you have to stay humble. You can't just do a full production, crazy $20,000 photo shoot if you don't have the funds. But what you can do is you can aim for the best with whatever you have. See if you can actually build a connection with somebody to help you out, but just aim to use a professional when you can. If you can use someone who specializes in what they do, it's best to do that. But at the end of the day, we started doing everything ourselves. But, as soon as we could afford to do something, via a professional, we would take up the offer. We would jump on it straight away because it really makes a difference. It really, really does.
And I guess the same thing applies to like financial advice. I mean, this is a discussion I always have with clients about, that sometimes really want advice, but they're like, oh, I don't really want to pay for it. And I'm like, well, it's always a catch-22, but getting professional advice always helps. But just a question, when we're in those initial stages, how did you find that right balance? Because I guess the one extreme is to literally do everything yourself, and the other extreme is to just pay professionals to do everything. How do you sort of find that right balance, especially for someone starting off? Like someone could be listening to this right now thinking, I want to start a business selling, I don't know, plants, and do they see some web developer that's going to charge them 20 grand, or do they sort of just...
Look, this is the thing. So we started 7 years ago. Like I said, 7 years ago, you can just whack up a site. Our first website was on WordPress. Is that? I can't even remember WordPress.
Yeah.
So, and WordPress was only really like a blogging platform. It's not really a e-commerce platform like today. We use Shopify. Shopify is built for e-commerce. Look, back then, the internet grew rapidly in the last 5 years. Like even advertising. Advertising used to be free when Facebook and Instagram first started. Advertising was literally free until they started turning it into a business concept. They got the users, they built it into a business concept, and then they started having algorithms in the background that controlled everything. It's really hard nowadays, to be honest, for somebody to say, I want to start a e-commerce business today, from very humble beginnings such as us. It would be very, very difficult unless you took huge amounts of loans out, and it really, really, believed in your product, and you had investors who sort of backed your idea or product, depending how big you wanted to go. Only then would you be able to compete with what's out there currently, because competition is very strong now. And advertising can be at the very minimum at like $1,000 a day, and not many people can spend $1,000 a day these days because advertising biddings are very high today. You have businesses dropping $1 million a month without thinking twice. So how do you compete with that? Look, nothing's easy. Nothing comes easy and nothing's handed to you. You just have to really try hard. You have to really believe in your product, and you really have to have some money behind you, whether it's in the form of savings or investors or a loan. But just make sure you know what you're doing and you study your business, your market, your product. Have a SWOT analysis handy. Make sure you know your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, your threats. Get advice. If you need to see a financial planner or anything along the lines, to make sure that you're safe.
Somebody that writes business plans.
Or somebody who writes business, correct. Go seek that advice. And that's something I regret at the start. I never sought advice from the right people. I always tried to do it myself. And I tell you what, it does bite back down the track. Like, for example, a few mistakes I made were, not setting up the business structures correctly.
Yes.
I didn't set it up correctly. Why didn't I do that? Because I was ignorant. I didn't.
And then doing that and then setting it up correctly later is like
it's
10 times more effort.
You have to change bank accounts. You have to just everything that's registered in your name has to be disconnected and re-registered to another entity. It's like changing your name. It's difficult.
Yes.
Yeah.
And on that note, you mentioned SWOT analysis, and that's a massive blast from the past, because you and I were both, like, in school, we were in all the business classes. And I think we need to give a massive shout out to Mrs. Sagner, Mrs. Cowper, Mr. Mijos, Mrs. Brown.
Do. Yeah.
But yeah, like all that stuff that we were taught in school, like it's real. And it's like the SWOT analysis. I mean, just to explain that to people that don't know what it is, it's literally what Alex just said. It's working out your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats so that you can plan things out. So just like, I guess, we do a financial plan for someone and look at exactly that. Someone that does a business plan, or if you don't have someone that does it for you, even if you do it yourself, just to understand not just what you're going to do really well at, but what you potentially could fail at.
Yeah,
So
there's always that threat. Every startup business has a threat, and you just have to know
yeah,
what it is and know how to minimize your risks and to, reduce those threats that come your way.
yep,
Look, I think anyone who starts up any business, whether it's e-commerce, whether it's bricks and mortar, always seek professional advice, even legal advice. But I'm sure if you see someone like Michael, he can recommend you to the right people, and he might have contacts that would be crucial to your business journey.
yep.
One thing that I also didn't do right at the start was contracts.
Mm,
So it was only once we had our own legal dilemma that we started to take our legal work within the business more seriously. We started seeking lawyers for contracts. We did a full copyright on the brand name. People using our images and using our brand name. We sought the help of lawyers to act on our behalf and protect us. So they
I bet you
help.
did not expect any of this to be an issue when you first started,
No, they just come at you like
because you were a small fish as well.
we were small. We like I mean I didn't even have an accountant. I was doing everything. I was doing all the bases myself. We did
Yep,
everything ourselves,
yep,
but because we had to be. We were humble,
yep.
and we didn't really expect it to turn into an operation that it is today. We just learned from our mistakes, and as soon as we saw a mistake or an error, we fixed it, and we learned by it, and then we just kept doing that. And look, it gets to a point where even having the right staff on board really helps. If you can find the right staff within your your company, your corporation, some people can really take a load off you so that you can focus on developing the business more. So you have to see yourself as a BDM. That's your job. You have to keep focusing on the business. Let the professionals do what they have to do, and you just focus on your business. I can't sit here all day doing reconciling and setting up my bases, and I have to focus on the baby. In other words,
Yep.
if you can do as much at the start via a professional channel, but if you cannot, then I guess try to do it yourself, but just make sure that you transition that work onto someone else who knows what they're doing when you can. The sooner the better.
Well said.
Yeah.
Well said. Well, one of the questions I was going to ask you is, what would you tell the Alex of 2013, or the Alex enough, I should say, of 2013? But you've sort of mentioned see professionals, contracts in place, legal structure, have the right stuff. Any last points? Anything else you want to add to that? Anything that you want to say to those that are listening to this and again are thinking of starting their own business but don't know where to begin?
Yes, it'll always be scary. There will always be somebody who wants to knock you down. There will always be a bully that will come and face you, and it's up to you to be patient, show persistence, and never give up. Just love what you do, and fight for it. Because there will always be somebody there or someone who will be in your way, and it's just up to you to be strong and just don't give up.
And
But
there'll always be people
yeah,
that try to probably crush your confidence.
yeah, it's
Like again,
very common.
I
Yeah,
didn't think you'd succeed. I mean, I never said it to you because I didn't want to crush your confidence. But I'm sure you had people, and you don't need to get into it. But I'm sure there was people that were probably, telling you, Alex, you're crazy. What are you doing?
yes. I
Stick to your
had
safe, comfortable job.
I had a lot of people that I knew who were close to me who would laugh at our business plan. I'm not going to lie.
Yep.
People directly within the family, people indirectly.
Yep.
But you know what? I didn't care because, like, look where it's taken me today, or taken us, I should say. It's taken us
Yeah.
to new levels that we would only ever imagine. It doesn't feel real, but just do what you love and do it well. Just do it properly. And just like I said, make sure you have a plan in place, the plan, the structure, and advice. Those three things you cannot replace.
Yeah. And when you do have friends and family saying things to you, I guess most of the time they probably do have the best of intentions. But it's like what you said, it's about just believing in yourself, and it's about
To be honest,
backing yourself.
the naysayers actually make you stronger. If you're a person like myself, anybody who belittles you or
Yep.
or just just doesn't have faith in you actually makes me a stronger person. It actually makes me more thirsty to succeed.
Fuel for the fire.
Yes. So they just fueled me. And I'm not saying that they had bad intentions. It's even when somebody, says it across here as a joke, it could be a good thing for you because it just makes you stronger as a person.
Gets you going.
Yeah, it gets you going. I mean, just don't take it to heart and just move on. Do what you got to do. You do you, and that's all. That's all I can say, really. Yeah. Just look at the risks we took, and look where it got us. So I'm not saying it's impossible. Anything's possible. You just have to fight for it, and just make sure you follow the right channels. You seek the right advice via the right channels. As soon as you can, because it can really protect you down the track.
No, thank you. Amazing advice. And I think, as I said, anyone listening to this would hopefully get a lot of inspiration out of it, and would learn from it, because again, you learn from your mistakes, you learn from other people's mistakes. And thank you so much for joining us, Alex. Appreciate it heaps.
Now, just sorry, before you cut me off.
Yes.
I mean, this interview is not, it's pretty much, it's not going to tell you how to make $1 million or whatever, but only you know how to do that. So just know your product, have faith in your product, and research it, and then take it out there. But you can make money from pretty much anything as long as you do it well. But let's just let the viewers know that this interview isn't about how to be, rich and wealthy within 1 month or 2 months. It's a long process. It's a long ride, especially when you start from nothing. It's not an instant result. It's a steep learning curve, and just have to ride it out.
Because on that note as well, some of the biggest businesses were not overnight successes. You are right. They failed. Like Elon Musk is one example. There's so many businesses that at one point were going to fail or have gone through their challenges, and it's 100%. And I think something else you've touched on, but you never really mentioned properly, is I think being passionate about what you do. Because I think if you and Nuf weren't really passionate about even fashion in general, I'm assuming you wouldn't have persisted. Yeah.
This is true. Yeah, you have to be passionate. Passion is the key ingredient. If you don't love what you do, then why do it? You won't put the time and effort into it. Simple as that. You could be passionate about cleaning cars, and if you're really good at it, then it'll show. It'll show without you having to really do much, because your passion is what makes it good. And it's true. You really have to love what you're doing. And I really don't know what else to really say other than that.
No, you've said enough. I think it's perfect. And as I said, I think I think anyone listening to this will get something out of it, and that is the purpose of today. And again, thank you. I finish all my episodes off with a dad joke, and I have to drop this one. This kid went to his dad and said, "Hey, Dad, did you get a haircut?" And he said, "No, I got them all cut."
What?
All cut. Did you get a haircut?
Oh.
No, I got them all cut.
Oh, yes, it's a very good joke. I'll make sure I keep that one for my wife later.
Thank you. I can tell you're crying from laughter.
It's a very, very funny joke, Michael. Stick to your day job.
Yeah, done. Sounds good. So thank you so much, mate. Take care. Have a good. Please tell Nuf that next time I hope to have her on the episode, and I think we'll finish it off there.
Yeah, sure. It's been a pleasure. Thanks, guys, for listening, and I wish you all the best.
Thanks for joining us on Sharing More Than the Sheets. Please make sure you subscribe to be updated with future episode releases. Please visit us at sharingmorethanthesheets.com.au to submit questions or requests for future podcast topics. These podcasts have been brought to you by Better Financial Planning Australia. To book a 15-minute phone chat, visit betterfinancialplanning.com.au.